concentration written all over his face, driving this pace, and it's Contador sat on his wheel.
Yeah, Contador is, well, they're both very explosive, and I think they've let a little bomb go off as Cadel Evans just relays himself back on to Michal Kwiatkowski, the pole. Now, Kwiatkowski got a very swift finish, so if he can get over here and get a decent descent, I think Contador knows this. Likewise, Valverde. They're both pretty handy descenders themselves. They kind of have to work together and then have a shootout at the very last. That's, I think, the master plan, because they've got to shake Kwiatkowski, and they're doing it right now.
They're certainly putting some time to Kwiatkowski, caught in no man's land. The group with Cadel Evans, and look at the face of Contador in absolute agony, trying to hold on to the wheel of a flying Alejandro Valverde, already with 7 wins under his belt, sat down, tapping out a nice rhythm, and we're still only midway up this horrendous climb.
Well, any moment now, Contador will be back out of the saddle. He's most comfortable actually on a more focused climb, and he gets back out of it, almost follows to the beat Alejandro Valverde. And look at their cadence as well. It's almost exactly matched. They look like they're riding tandem up here. Well, anything but. Kwiatkowski's backed into the pack, and it's a pack that includes Gilbert, Sammy Sanchez and Cadel Evans. In fact, it's TJ. I think Gilbert has just been backed out a little bit. Now, they're going to crest this together, Contador and Valverde, the two, I think, prime favourites coming into this race. And look at the damage that's been done further back. That's Warren Barguil, a strong man, but a big man too, and you need to be light of weight and heavy in demeanour if you're going to bury something today, and these guys could bury everyone. This could be a huge gap on stage 1 of the Tour of the Basque Country. Definitely.
You just saw Alberto Contador try and lighten the load by jettisoning his bead on. But it's at the moment it's Valverde setting a rhythm that is detonating this field. The riders really finding it hard. Of course, Cadel Evans there fighting to get onto the wheel of the flying young Pole, Michal Kwiatkowski. It's trying to see what other riders are there. It's TJ Van Garderen is definitely there, as is Simon Spilak.
JC Péraud it is, not Betancourt for AG2R Le Mondial. And further down the order, we still see the suffering going on. Viamos, who is the man who helps out in the climb. Thank you very much and good night. Oh, likewise, Ryder Hesjedal also suffering a big one, and Giannisson also been found out. And it's about these guys. It looks like numbers 1 and 2, except there's another, it's 21 for Contador. But certainly they have the beating of just about everybody, it seems, today. We'll see. Frank Schleck also making a good fist of this, but nobody able to counter the blows that's being imposed, rain down on everybody by this duo.
And of course, it's Alberto Contador hasn't given Alejandro Valverde any turns at all yet. It looks like Contador's spinning a huge gear. Sometimes when you're turning a bigger gear, it's because you're in trouble. All you can do rather than spin is just lean on it using your body weight. But they're opening up a bit of a gap. I do think these two will work together, but it's only about 12 or 15 seconds between the next group.
I believe that gap is actually closing because the men behind are actually working together. It's being driven on by BMC, who, don't forget, came into this climb with 4 riders. There are just 2 remaining, and in fact it's a duo from AG2R Le Mondial, I believe. Oh, and we've got a counter-attack, and there goes Contador. Well, Valverde may have the form, but Contador has got the bottle, and he can descend like nobody else. This gap is going to widen.
That was a very interesting move by Contador. Sat on the wheel of Valverde, let Valverde cause all of the damage, probably letting Valverde think that he was in control, and then counters on a huge gear and powers his way through this crowd that have amassed to see their heroes battle it out today.
It was Michael Nieve for Sky up towards the front, and there goes Contador, and they're going to be loving this. Just watch the flags, boys. We don't want that getting caught in a chain. Oh, my goodness. Look at the fans and listen to the roar. They love seeing a Spaniard. If it can't be a Basque, then why not? Heading up to the top of this peak, and he is going to crest, as was the master plan, the Gianitza, and then he's going to be pushing this all the way home, quite certainly.
It looked like that was Yuri Trifmov at the back for Team Katusha rather than Spilak, but look at Contador riding here, riding a bigger gear than normal, powering it over the top of this climb. If he can get a bit of a gap, he's a very, very talented descender. Takes a quick look over his shoulder. There's definite daylight there, and now Valverde caught in between.
Yes, and just when you think he might ease up, he increases the pace. This is the mark of the man. He's had so much success, and indeed his trauma within his career but now he's absolutely flying. He's in his pop. Don't forget, picked up the Tirreno Adriatico and kind of shook the trident, Neptune's trident and everybody else, and said, hey, how's about that? He is on terrific form, and he's proving it here against a huge measure, which is Alejandro Valverde.
Well, he's put 15 seconds into Valverde, arguably two riders on the best form of their careers at the moment, and two of the most dominant riders in world cycling right now. But look, there's definitely a big gap as well between the third group. 27 seconds now that has been opened on this very, very difficult climb. Will this group get together to try and shut this gap?
Kwiatkowski makes it. I'm just waiting to see whether that's Betancourt as well. We know that Jean-Christophe Péraud was up there. I wasn't sure whether it was indeed Betancourt, and it's Damiano Cunego just zipping up. Now he can descend like a bat. Let's have a look. A bat with no wings. Here we go. Any moment now. I just watched Damiano Cunego just drive into this. There's Kwiatkowski. And indeed, AG2 La Mondiale also involved. It's not Nocentini, surely. 6 to go. 6 to go. And there is Cunego. What can he do? Can he possibly get the rebridge, that kind of thing? I remember watching him descend in Switzerland a few years ago. And my goodness, I was scared. I could barely talk.
He's
frankly.
a wonderful one. If you don't win the Giro without being an absolutely exceptional descender, as you can see by his technique going into that left-hander, but 30 seconds is a long gap to close.
5.6 to go, and there we are. 16 seconds it was listed as the gap. I think it's much, much bigger than that. Let's have a look, shall we? 36 seconds. There we are. Maybe it was the gap between himself and Valverde on this descent. I think it was. So Valverde has got a bit of catch-up to do. Now, Contador, the final run for home. Let's talk about it, shall we? It's quite lumpy in itself, and it's more than a test. There can be a regroupement over the last 3K.
Definitely. Well, it's dropping at a sort of 7% gradient all the way down to 1 kilometre to go, where there's a little bit of a lip, 5% with 1k to go, and then it's flat for about 400 metres before the last 500-metre ramp to the finish. There's a couple of not overly technical turns on the run-in, but again, these riders have seen most of this, and then an 8% kick towards the finish. So it's not over yet, but Contador clearly on absolutely scintillating form with a very comfortable gap, and of course, he's an absolutely sublime descender too.
He certainly is. There is Cunego. I think he's got too many men in front of him, to be honest. Great to see such a raft of talent amongst everybody here. There is Cunego, and look at the way he drives the corners. Now, at the moment, he's just holding back. He needs to do more than that, to be honest. 56 kilometres an hour. I think the pace of it and the fact that it's not overly technical, as we saw first time by, hasn't really helped him out in that regard.
Definitely. Well, it's good to see him, Cunego, riding very strongly, but of course he's a very diminutive rider with a low centre of gravity, so he's going to be very at home on the technical twisting descents and does look very, very comfortable. But what an elite group it is. Michal Kwiatkowski is there for Team Sky, and it looks like it was Jean-Christophe Péraud, fresh from winning the Criterium International and a wonderful climber in his own right. But it's Michal Kwiatkowski who has sensed the danger and is leading this group, descending at great speed. And of course, the veteran Tour de France winner is also there, Cadel Evans. Great to see him on form, and it's 4 kilometres to go.
It is. Cadel Evans takes that corner, gets spat out the other side. It wasn't the best of entrees into that, and we're counting them down, and we'll be counting them home as well, and hoping that everyone stays safe today. It may not be the most nasty of descents, but it's certainly quick, and it's not allowing Damiano Cunego to have his fun today. I think he'd prefer it to be much longer, much more twisty, much narrower, and probably throw in a rough surface as well. I'm not sure exactly what we're looking at here, apart from the static. Maybe it's somebody's barbecue zone. Hopefully nobody visits it. There is Contador, absolutely on the drive. 2.6 to go. He's on the way home.
This certainly is his race to lose now. Only something technical is going to take this away from him. I think he's got a big enough gap on Alejandro Valverde, who in turn has a fair gap on the chasing group led by the Polish champion from Amiga Pharma Quick-Step.
I've got a feeling that Valverde may well be caught by these chargers right now, because they're small enough to be able to pick the best lines, and you can see him, I think, just further up the road. Unfortunately, much further is this man with 2k to go, and Alberto Contador has set out his intentions. likewise, let this be a huge beacon he's just lit for the Grand Tours. He's on fantastic form, and he's undiminished, it seems.
Absolutely, riding full of confidence and full of form, getting in a really good aero tuck on this wide bit of road, trying to maximise that gap. A quick glance over your shoulder to his left and to his right, but he has got a substantial lead and is absolutely powering away to what looks like a wonderful victory.
Matt, he's a time trialist as well, let's not forget. You don't win Grand Tours without being pretty handy at that, and right now he's just got to get into that zone. I don't know whether he's putting in or taking out the earpiece, but he's in a happy place right now, and he doesn't need any encouragement to know what he needs to do. It's just for time gaps maybe that he is interested in, and there is a man who looks like he's been beaten on the day, Alejandro Valverde, and the camera may well just pan back a little bit to see Kwiatkowski, Evans and co leading on. 1k to go, and Contador absolutely in his pump. Well, he carried that trident from the Tirreno Adriatico, and I don't know, he'd be frying muffins with it tonight. He is in a great zone right now.
And of course, with the significance here being the Mavic neutral service car, which means his lead is over 30 seconds.
Wow.
Fantastic stuff. And Valverde in a time trial of his own here, trying to keep away from the chasing group. But it's all about Alberto Contador, who is on fire.
Well, we picked two out-and-out favourites today. Our own picks were always away from the favourites. But believe me, the cream rises to the top, obviously, and that's what's happened today. The two men who were expected to dominate this race, and I guess when you throw in this kind of parcours to start us off, the second most difficult test throughout the whole of the Tour of the Basque Country, you were always going to have to be, you're going to be forced to reach out and grab for it, and that's what's happened. And Alberto Contador has taken control of this race, and without time bonuses on offer and a time trial to finish off, has he just won the Tour of Basque Country on day one? Plenty more racing still to come, let's not forget, but there's no doubt who is going to take the day, the leader's jersey, the plaudits, the headlines, and indeed our praise. Alberto Contador, so strong when it mattered. Timing is all, and in terms of form, he's delivering at just the right time. He's going to cruise across the line. You're going to see the pistol shot, surely. Oh, he leaves it a little bit. He wants the maximum gap, and that's what he's got here. This is Alejandro Valverde of Movistar. It's what the crowd wanted to see. Two Spaniards coming across the line, and the gap between the pair of them, 13 seconds, and now the countback begins, and we're counting them out, I think. This has been like a boxing match. We've got two prize fighters, and everyone else is after minor places today.
And it's Michal Kwiatkowski, the Polish champion from Mega Pharma Quickstep, who's taken a bit of who's stolen some tarmac from the chasing group, powering way up to the finish to take third place.
And by a margin of 2 seconds.